Good day, fish tankers. Gravel vacs or gravel vacuums, what are these? As you can see, there's several sizes. I've got 3 different ones here actually. And what they are in design, they're very simple. It's basically a rigid piece of plastic tubing, a bigger one, then attached to a smaller, more flexible piece of plastic tubing. And traditionally, we put them in the aquarium. We start them with a good old-fashioned suck. And before the water reaches your mouth, you put it in a bucket and it sucks out aquarium water, and it sucks the gravel or the sand partially up in here, and it sucks out all the mold and detritus from the sand. It's something that's been around forever, and I think all of us that's been in the fish keeping hobby for long have at some stage swallowed a mouthful of aquarium water. But there's a little bit more to this. What must you look for when you're buying a gravel vac? That's the number one thing. When do you use it and when do you not use it? There's certain aquariums where you never gravel vac, and there's others where you must do it. And how can you start it without getting a mouthful of water? So if you want to know about the finer tricks of operating one of these simple but more to it than meets the eye devices, then stick around. Now firstly, as you can see, there's different sizes of these. I've got 3 different sizes. This one I use on my 5-gallon nano tank, and these are more sort of decorative these days because, as you know, of my aquariums, 3 of them have dirted substrates, and there's only one that I really use. So when you select the right size, you've got to take that space from where your substrate sits, where your gravel or your sand or whatever you have is, and from there to the surface where your water level is. This rigid piece of piping, you want it to be just under the water surface or just a little bit over the water surface, like that. You don't want it standing up way in the air. So for instance, if you have a normal size tank, this is for a 75-gallon plus. If you have a normal size 2-foot or 10-15 gallon tank, this is not going to be working because it's going to be that much above the surface, and it's going to create way too much suction. You're going to have hell starting this. So select the right size. Rigid piece of piping must be from the bottom of your sand to just under your water surface, or maybe just over your water surface when you're hitting the sweet spot. It mustn't stick out by a mile. Right, that's the one thing. Make sure that the flexible tube is soft enough so you can squeeze it or make a kink in it. I'll show you later why that is important. And then these days they tend to come with this non-return valve at the top, so not to suck in any leaf matter to clog it. I think it's just a nuisance. It clogs way too easily, so I just cut it off or try and get one without that. Okay, when do you use a gravel vac? You use it when you're doing your partial water changes, because then you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're vacuuming the gravel and you're changing out some water. But what kind of aquariums must you gravel vac? Well, number one type of aquarium where you have to use a gravel vac would be something that is not a planted aquarium. Maybe it's only, like you see here, plastic plants and gravel on the bottom, or maybe it's a Malawi tank with rockery and so on. Then you have to gravel vac. You know, unless maybe you've got a wave maker situated along the surface, blowing everything to the intake of a filter. If you're really good with that, you could get away with it. But a tank that's got inert gravel or sand, that you've got a gravel vac. If you have a planted aquarium, it's got an inert substrate, it's got sand or gravel, and it's sparsely planted, then you gravel vac around the plants. So those kind of aquariums, you've got a gravel vac. Okay, so before you start, remember to switch off the heater so that it doesn't explode when it's exposed. Then you take the rigid end of that tube and you push it underneath the water and you lift it up again, you fill it with water and you turn it around. And that will start to siphon without having a mouthful of water. You push it into your gravel or your sand like that, and you lift it up and then it drops down. And that way you suck out all the detritus around you. There's another trick that you can do. You can pinch the flexible piece of the tubing. So you're sucking it up, then you pinch, like so, and then it falls back down to the substrate. And you open it, and you pinch again. That way, you also don't suck out so much water at once so that you run out of water or you change too much water. So instead of lifting that rigid piece of tube, you just pinch the flexible part of a tube. There I'm pinching it again and it stops, and now I release, and there it sucks again, and there goes the detritus as well. Now if you have plants, you can gravel vac just around the base of a plant, about a 1-inch radius, because it needs that detritus to feed on. And there you can see the tank has been cleaned out. I've refilled the water that I've changed with a gravel vac, and now we are good to go again. And once we've done that, we mustn't forget to switch on the heater once again so that it doesn't remain cold even though that water was warm. Okay, the other thing is, when do you not use a gravel vac? If you have aqua swirl, if you have one of those big aquascapes, you do not gravel vac. And with that I mean, you don't stick this pipe into the substrate and try and suck out detritus in between the aqua swirl, because it'll just pull up too far here, you'll cause a huge mess, and that is nutrition for your plants. If you have a dirted substrate, that's another thing. You don't gravel vac that, because if I stick this pipe into it, it's going to suck up the sand, it's going to suck the swirl mixture all the way to the top, and you're going to have a disaster. So tanks of aqua swirl and tanks that are dirted substrate, the swirl layer at the bottom capped with sand, you do not gravel vac those tanks. But you can still use these, because as you can see there on your screen, you can use this gravel vac and you can just hover it above the substrate and just shake it around a little bit, and then it loosens whatever detritus is on top, and then it will suck it straight up. So that is something that you can do with your planted tanks. If it's a dirted tank or if it has got aqua swirl, you just hover this gravel vac above the surface like that. You just stir it around a bit, you just hover it above the surface, and you can remove unsightly detritus. So that is it from me, guys. Those are the tanks you gravel vac and you don't gravel vac. That's how you do it. Please share this video if it was something that you took value from. And thanks to those who have subscribed. If you haven't, please consider doing so. And until we see each other again, take good care of those domestic denizens of the deep.